So this recipe from Summer Kitchens is called PELUSTKA, which means rose petals, and you'll see why it's called that. It's just absolutely gorgeous. So we've got one sweetheart cabbage, one beetroot, and I'm not even bothering to peel it because the skin on this one is quite thin. Then I've got a litre of tap water. I've got 20 grams of sea salt, 100 grams of sugar. I've actually, whatever I scraped in the house, there's a bit of caster sugar, a bit of brown sugar, but caster sugar is absolutely fine. And then I've got 100 mils of raw cider vinegar. So now what we need to do is to make sure that the salt and the sugar dissolve. And the easiest way to do it is to basically just put it in the pan. So there's your sugar, there's your salt, and then we're just going to pour a bit of this water in. You don't have to pour the whole thing in. Then you don't have to wait for it for ages to cool down. So then you're just going to join this hot water with the dissolved sugar and salt with this cold water, and then you're ready to go and pour it into your jar. A little bit of water with the sugar and the salt is boiled and it's all dissolved. You just pour it into your cold water here. And then I'm going to add the cider vinegar as well. Actually need a little bit more veg because for this amount of liquid, because normally I use more beetroots, but I only had one today, but I do have another cabbage in the fridge. So the second cabbage that I picked up actually has a couple of bits that look a little bit damaged to me. Make sure that your vegetables are kind of in perfect condition, not overripe and don't have any blemishes. But what I can do here is just to cut it off. So just cut off the blemish here, and you know, this bit here, but we're going to use the cores and everything. We're not going to waste any of this. Anything else? Maybe just this little tip. So it's ready to go. We're just going to cut it up now. So the reason why this ferment is called PELUSTKA is because of the way that the cabbage is cut, and then mixing with beetroot in the jar, it kind of looks like rose petals in the end. You'll see it's really gorgeous. And then we're going to quarter it. Just turn it around so it's nice and stable and doesn't kind of rock around on your surface. And the other one. And then we're just going to cut it into segments, kind of like 3 across. So again, stable, 1, 2, 3. And then you've got quite large chunks like this. And you can use any cabbage really, just use a normal white cabbage. I've never tried it with red, but I don't see why that wouldn't work. Any vegetable actually would do, even a cauliflower, including its leaves and stalks. So again, all I'm getting rid of is just this tiny bit of the dry at the end. And then the rest of it is getting used. So there's absolutely no waste in this. Get a bowl for yourself, put all of these pieces into a bowl so it's much tidier and you're not kind of getting overwhelmed by all of this stuff happening around. Get a bigger bowl. And for the beetroot, again, this is a young beetroot, so the skin is quite thin. I'm not going to bother to peel it, but you can peel it if you want. Just get rid of this bit here, and then we're just going to cut it into thinnish wedges. Again, turn it around so it's stable. So about 7 to 8 slices of beetroot per half. And then we go again. So now all we're going to do is just layer these pieces of cabbage and your beetroot, and all of that color from the beetroot is going to go into your brine and dye the cabbage this really beautiful bright pink color. Okay, so this took a cabbage and a half, which means that actually you can adapt these recipes. You know, you might have more of this ingredient or less of that. Just make sure that you make up more or less brine and just basically adapt as you go along. Okay, so just gently pour your brine in. And if, like me, you have been adapting the recipe a bit and you've got a little bit of cabbage left over, for example, just make up a little bit more brine, put it into a smaller jar, and it will work without beetroot as well. It'll still be delicious, just not as beautifully pink. Okay, it's ready. You're just going to put your lid on and wait. And in this heat, I reckon in 3 days or so, you will see signs of fermentation. And after a week or so, just taste a little bit. Take a little bit of beetroot out, cut a little bit off, taste it, see if it kind of like tastes like a pickle or not. And if not, just leave it for another couple of days and then just keep tasting it. The beetroot itself should become softer and you know, the brine will have slight fizz in it, and the cabbage will soften a little bit but still will remain crunchy. And that's it. Just put your lid on. So even now it's already, if I do this, it's going to become much pinker. So this is my pickled cabbage leaves with beetroot from my cookbook Summer Kitchens.